glass of Octagon wine from a wonderful winery in Southern Virginia called Barbersville. It's a winery that's run by a winemaker who's originally from Italy, and it's just the most exquisite red that I've tasted in a really long time. It's a blend of a bunch of grapes. The most predominant is a Case Cabernet, and it's just a gem of a wine. Upstairs, you're only half aware. I grew up in one of those rare American families that actually really, really loved food. Actually rare for the 1960s. My dad was the cook in the house, and for instance, he would think nothing of taking the entire family out on a 100-mile excursion to find the best and sweetest peaches, or some great artisanal salami. I was always kind of the food guy, even though I did probably about 500,000 things before I did actually this job. I used to work in the movies. I worked for about 7 years in Hollywood in the movie business in a bunch of different capacities, and whenever the caterer wasn't available, I was always the one who would volunteer to cook for the entire cast and crew because I loved it so much. I was always the one, even when I was 14 or 15 years old, would be coming home from the library with a stack of cookbooks this high and poring over them and deciding what I was going to make over the weekend. How I came to this particular job, was pretty much by accident. I'd been a great lover of Sever ever since the very first issue came out in 1994, and was always a very avid reader of the magazine, and then eventually worked up the courage to pitch the magazine, to start writing for it in the late 1990s. My first pitch was ignored for a year. I sent again that exact same pitch pretty much 1 year to the day later, and about 4 or 5 days after that, got a call from the then executive editor of the magazine, Christopher Hirshheimer, saying, hey, your pitches are very intriguing. Would you like to come have lunch, and we'll figure out what we can do. And in short order, probably 2 or 3 weeks later, I was working on my first Sever article. And from that point on, I was always writing Sever article after Sever article. It took about 5 or 6 years off to write a book, which was published in 2006. And right as I was turning in my third and final draft of that book, the book is a kind of half memoir, half serious food book about my time in Southeast Asia. I got a call from Coleman Andrews, who was then the editor-in-chief of Sever, saying, our executive editor is leaving us. Is this a job you're interested in? And in fact, at the time, I probably had a bank account that had about $300 or so left, and it was like, yeah, okay. And basically I started in a week or two, and Coleman left about 6 or 8 months after that, and I became the editor-in-chief. Don't go upstairs, you're only half aware. There's a very real and very genuine attention in our culture here, at least here in the States, being paid to home cooking and cooking really good food very intelligently, compared to the darkest hours of the 1970s, where so much of what we ate in this country was really, can you really even cook something in a microwave? I mean, it was basically like snip the plastic bag and put it in a bowl and throw it in the microwave, and you've got dinner. There isn't maybe some huge crazy seismic turnaround, to the contrary, but there really is movement afoot at not only eating better food, but cooking it yourself for your family. Paul's answer. I mean, one of the places that I've been traveling to a lot lately is Brazil. My partner / actually officially technically husband the last 4 weeks now is Brazilian, and so I've been going there a heck of a lot over the last 3 years. And it's true. Some of the foods you find in that country, wow, it's completely mind blowing. Not only the foods themselves, the dishes themselves, but some of the ingredients are like, I kind of always thought of myself as somebody who knows a lot about a lot of different kinds of ingredients, and some of the things that I encounter on these trips to Brazil are like, wow, my consciousness had never even imagined anything remotely like some of the stuff that I'm seeing. I think Southeast Asia is a sort of perennial influencer, but I think there's a good reason for that. It's because, to my mind, the food cultures that you find in Southeast Asia, from the very different regional food cultures that exist in Thailand to Burma to Indonesia to Cambodia to Vietnam, of course, I mean, thank God it's actually like a perennial inspiration to chefs on our shores, to cooks on our shores, because the flavor profiles, the dishes, the approaches to cooking that you find in these places, in these cultures and in these countries it's kind of second to none. It's really astonishing food. First meal would be at home, and it would be our usual breakfast, which sounds so unglamorous, but it's so delicious. And it's muesli, it's homemade muesli that we make like once every 2 or 3 weeks or so. So it's oats and all sorts of dried nuts and fruits and chopped fresh fruit and a bit of yogurt and milk and sometimes kefir and honey and cinnamon, and it's very delicious. And a cup of hot, milky PG Tips tea. So that's how I'd start the day off. Then I would probably, I'm gonna imagine that this is a day where I have like a kind of half work day. So I'd come into the office here at Savur, and here in the test kitchen, some of the foods that I've eaten coming out of the test kitchen have been some of the best foods that I've eaten anywhere. So I'm going to imagine that they've made the most exquisite pasta dish, and I'm going to have a little bit of that in the late morning, and that's going to tide me over until the late afternoon when I'm making my way down to Chinatown, and I'm going to stop into either a nice little dim sum place. There's a great like a bun place, a bao place on Canal Street that I love, and I'll get a pork bun or a lotus seed bun, and we're gonna shop. We're gonna shop for some really beautiful fresh greens and maybe some really great seafoods and clams or some shrimp, and I'm gonna take those beautiful ingredients that I've bought in Chinatown back to my home. In fact, I'm gonna walk home because it's only about a 15-minute walk from Chinatown, and I'm gonna cook the most fantastic food. Probably what I'm going to make is a pasta dish. I'm going to make a thin spaghetti with whole shrimp with their shells and their heads still on, and clams and a lot of garlic and some fresh parsley and some beautiful green olive oil and freshly grated Parmesan. And maybe I'm going to stir fry some of those beautiful Chinese greens that I've got. And that's my dream New York City eating today. 11 Madison, I really, bottom of my heart, I think it is an extraordinary restaurant. It's one of the world's great restaurants. I've eaten there maybe not more times than I can count, but probably it's about 10 times now. And not one time have I ever had, even remotely, one of those moments where you're kind of like, this is okay, but it could be better. It's all just been stunning, absolutely stunning. Now, beyond like the totally luxe high-end realm of 11 Madison, I'm a die-hard lover of Second Avenue Deli. I think their matzo ball soup is phenomenal, as is pretty much everything else on the menu.